Hey there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to the Trinity Stamps YouTube channel. Today I get to sneak peek some new stamp sets from Love Dani. She's one of the designers for Trinity Stamps, and she makes these adorable images with inspiring words built into the image. This one is so cute with these little root vegetables. It's called Rooting for You. So I'm going to show you all 5 of these stamps in this new release. Now, this new release isn't coming out until next week on June 7th. So this is just a little sneak peek for you of things to come. And I love all the images that Love Dani creates for Trinity Stamps. I kind of want to collect them all. So I think that you're going to love these too. They're all food inspired. So that makes me love them even more, just like these root vegetables. I'm showing you here some of my coloring, but this is a long video. I'm making 5 cards and showing you all 5 of those stamped images first. So this one I decided to make a red onion, and then I did a beet and a parsnip. I think it's they're all root vegetables. I looked them up online and decided what colors to color them based on the images I found online, and I really love the look of these all bunched together like that. And I love also how you can do some kind of fun coloring on the letters in these sentiments if you want to, which I did do. Okay, we're moving on to the next one, which is One in a Melon, and I'm stamping this on 2 different colors of paper so that I can do some kind of paper piecing. But first, let's do the coloring. So I'm coloring out my watermelon slices with some different colors of red and red violet. And I have the marker caps on the screen if you're super interested in what colors I chose. And then for the seeds, I'm going to do a couple different black or dark gray colors, so they have a little color variation to them. And then for the rind, I'm going to do 2 different greens on the outer section and a really super light green on that inner one, and then I'll color in the rest of the red portion. But I just wanted to show you all the parts that were different. So this one is kind of like it's tilted and you can see the outside of the rind, so I went ahead and did a little bit of a look like a real watermelon with the stripes on it. Now for the letters, I am going to do some polka dots and stripes. So for the UR, I am doing pink and red the red is what I'm using for polka dots. And then for the large word melon, I'm going to do that one green, and I'll use a darker green to make the stripes. So that's another really cool thing about these sets, is just creating different looks on your letters. And then also the other cool thing about these sets is that they come with coordinating die sets that usually allow you to reconfigure the images in different ways. They're not always dies that just cut out the whole thing, like the first one had a die that cut out the whole thing. So you'll see what I mean as we go along, and you're going to have fun playing with these and reconfiguring these images exactly how you want for your card. So I'm going to cut out all the pieces with the die set, and then I'm going to be able, well, there is also one in that part does not die cut out, so I'm going to leave that, you can see, on my green paper and paper piece the rest on. So that's one thing you can do with these dies. Now to give this a little bit of texture, I am adding some glaze over the top of my watermelon, and then for the seeds that create the hearts and they're laying there at the bottom, I'm using some black Nuvo drops to give them texture as well. So these cards are all about texture today. You're going to see all the different ways I use to add texture to my cards. All right, so now we have the Berry Sweet stamp set. This one might be my favorite. We love strawberries here at my house, and all things strawberry inspired as well. So I'm going to show you just the coloring of one of these strawberries, and I decided to do the little seeds in yellow instead of black. So a little bit different than how I would normally color it, but I love how it turned out. So the greenery on these is really fun to color as well. And then again, you have those letters that you can color out however you want. You've got the hearts, and all of these things can be die cut out. So you could color a bunch of strawberries, die cut them out, and not even use the words which is so cool. So again, just play with these and have fun, and don't be confined to leaving them the same size that they are. You don't have to. So for this one, I am bringing in some kind of aqua blue colors, which by the way is like my favorite color. So I'm doing a little ombre effect on these letters with so they're darker at the bottom and lighter at the top, and I'm adding some white gel pen highlights to all of the things, which I just love that look. So now I'm going to die cut out only the sentiment this time, and you can see it's going to die cut it out all at once. Then I'm going to take that same die and die cut that out again without having stamped on it. And you'll see what I'm going to do with that when I put the cards together. So now let's move on to the peach. What is this one called? Appreciate. It's hard to say. Appreciation. Appreciation. There we go. I said it. And I'm going to color out these peaches. I think they're so cute. I think this is a really fun stamp set. I'd like a nice way to show your gratitude to somebody. And you can, again, use the peaches without the sentiment too. So versatility is what I love about stamp sets. All right, so I stamped this one on 2 different colors of paper to do paper piecing again. And this time I colored in the letters on that really light peach paper. So that looks pretty cool to me. And then I'm going to pop this out right over the one stamped on the peach paper, and that gives it some nice dimension. All right, next we have Easy Peasy, the peas and the lemon. It's so darling. So for my peas, I'm going to color like the pea pod so that it's a little bit darker than the peas themselves, but you know, you play with it, color it how you like. And then I'm just going to use the same marker as I'm coloring the peas to give a little bit of shadow, and it looks really good. All right, next for the lemon, I'm going to color it darker towards the bottom and then lighter as it goes up. And there's a little shadow line there, and I will actually go back and color that a little bit darker. But I love lemons. I love them. I loved eating them. Anything flavored lemon. Oh, love it. All right, so now here's what the dies are going to do. They're going to die cut out a lemon, a leaf, a pea pod with peas, and little stems. So you could easily paper piece those over the top of what you stamped if you want to do that instead. But I'm going to show you a different thing to do when we do backgrounds and card assembly. So for all my cards, I'm going to create my own backgrounds using the gel press and bags. Only bags to create my texture on my background. So I'm brayering on my little 5x7 gel press some acrylic paint in orange. And then the first bag I'm bringing in is actually a piece of a bag, which is burlap. So I'm going to press the burlap into the paint on my little gel press. And then I have a piece, half a sheet of cardstock that I'm pressing down onto that to pick up that paint. And you can see the pattern has pressed into the paint, and it's very cool. But there's still paint left on there. It's dry. So what I did is I added a little bit of white paint, and I want this to be a pretty thin layer of paint. And it's going to re-moisten that paint that's left on my gel press, and then I'm going to put a piece of paper down and wait about 5 minutes and come back and peel that off, and you can see it picked up that remnant dried leftover paint, and it is the most gorgeous background. That's the background I'm going to use on my first card. So I'm bringing in the A7 rectangle die set from Trinity. It leaves an embossed edge around your shape that you cut out, and I'm going to die cut out my background and this kind of burgundy color of cardstock, which I will stamp with this gorgeous background stamp. I use this a lot from Trinity Stamps. It's got words of encouragement on it, and it looks like they've all been typed up. So it's great for backgrounds like this that maybe you're not going to read every single little thing. And I'm going to emboss that with clear ink and clear powder. So it's just going to give me some texture on that background, which, remember, today's cards are all about the texture. All right, for a sub-sentiment on my card, I have this supporting script sentiment set, and it says, "So proud of you." I'm embossing that with white powder, on some purple cardstock. So it's going to kind of pull in all the colors from that Rooting for You stamp. So here you can see we're going to assemble all the things. And by the way, all of my cards today are 5 by 7. I had this burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and I put a strip of it down the middle of my card using some double stick tape. And then I'm going to add that stamped and embossed background. So just really a little bit of the burlap is showing at the top and the bottom, but what a great texture to add to my card that was also kind of in the background. I mean, it was a different kind of burlap, but you know, it all works. So now I'm putting the So Proud of You at the bottom, and I actually decided to trim off the ends of that. And that is my first card using the Rooting for You stamp. And I'm not kidding. I love these stamps so much. They're so much fun to play with. All right, let's move on to the next card, which is going to be the watermelon card. I'm going to use red, a really dark and bright pink, and then a really soft pale pink for this background. And I'm going to brayer all those on. You can see I have a scratch paper over to the side. That's to clean off my brayer before I move on to the next color. You can definitely use your brayer paper as a background also, so don't automatically just toss that out because it's pretty cool paper. All right, now I have a plastic grocery bag. I'm crinkling it up, and what I'm going to do is pounce it onto my paint and kind of transfer and move the paint around. You can see that red over there on the light pink. So cool, the texture and pattern that this gives. Check it out. So cool. Okay, that's the background I'm actually going to use on my card, but there was a little bit of paint left there. I went ahead and picked that up as well and got a totally different but equally cool background. Check that out. I will use that for something else later. All right, I'm going to use that same die to die cut this out, and then I am bringing in this kind of sunshine ray stencil that's 9 by 6. So you can do like any size paper with this, any size card you want to make. And then I have some moon dust stickle paste I'm going to put over the top of this. So this is going to give this some amazing texture and sparkle, and it's just gorgeous. You'll see more of it when it's dry, and I use it on my card for my background. So now I have that You Are One in a Melon piece that I did at the beginning of the video. The glaze is dry, the Nuvo drops are dry, and I kind of put it on a background that's red and green to mimic the watermelon, and then I mounted that whole thing to a piece of glitter cardstock. Now that the background's dry, I can add that to my card, my 5 by 7 card, and then I'll go ahead and glue down You Are One in a Melon right there in the center. To embellish this, I have some black licorice jelly drop hearts. Aren't they perfect? They kind of remind me of those watermelon seeds, and I thought another pop of black was perfect to finish it off. So loving this bright and cheery card, and that background is like so delicious. I love it. I love texture on my cards. I love different kinds of texture all at once. Okay, for my next background, I have 2 different shades of yellow, a real soft pastel yellow, a bright yellow, and then some green. And I'm going to brayer those similar to the way I brayered on for my last background, the 3 different colors, cleaning my brayer off in between and blending those colors slightly. And I have a really super cool bag for this card. I think you're gonna like it. It's actually one of my favorite things to use on my gel press, and that is a bag that lemons come in. See this like mesh, plasticky mesh? It's like what they make scrubbies out of, you know? All right, so I'm pressing my paper down onto that and trying to get the paint picked up from around there, and that is super cool. But once you remove it and then pick up the paint, it's even more cool. So this is the background I'm going to use for this card, and you'll never guess which stamp I'm going to put with it. But first I'm going to die cut this out. Now you could easily use your paper trimmer, but this just makes such a nice finished edge, and I can move that die around easily to pick out the portion that I want to be die cut out. And then I am splattering this with some green splatter that I had on hand. I'm letting that dry, and I'm going to use my die set to create a tone-on-tone background with this yellow cardstock and die-cut lemons. And I thought this would just be a really fun textural element for this card. And the lemons, they're just so cute. So I'm going to trim off any that hang off the edge. And by the way, the rectangle, I'm gluing them on. I did die cut with that A7 rectangle die set. I'm going to take that yellow paint that I used to make my background and use it to splatter on this background. Splattering with paint gives you a little bit more texture than when you splatter with ink, and it's so cool. So I don't know what happened, but I decided, would it look cool to use a little bit of the lemon bag on this card? I mean, speaking of texture, so I did. I cut a strip of it off. I added some double stick tape behind my background, and then I just gave it a little haircut. And look at that. It's like so fun. A little textury element. It's not going to be overpowering on my card. It's going to be a little bit more subtle than it looks right here. You'll see it all come together. So I used some double stick tape on the back of that. I'm sticking that down to my background, and you can see it's making the background more subtle, and it's making that like mesh kind of stuff more subtle, and I love how it looks on this card. I mean, it's so cool. All right, I have some yellow gems here that I am using, rhinestones, and they're a little bit translucent, so they're really going to pick up the color behind them. And then I have some light green as well. I'm going to link all these things for you below, all these embellishments, because Trinity Stamps is like the king or queen of embellishments. Yeah. So those die cut pieces I am using as an embellishment for the inside of my card, just repeating the fun on the inside. And this one, so fun to make. And it kind of inspired me for the next cards to come. You'll see what I mean. All right, so on to, I think this is our fourth card already. I am using this gorgeous kind of aqua color. I think you can think back to what image I colored that had some aqua in it and know what stamp I'm going to pair with this. So now I'm going to take like a produce bag. This is really thin, and I'm going to lay it on there and then make some twists with my fingers. And this, this background, oh my gosh, look at that. Isn't it like the most gorgeous thing? It's very ocean looking. I don't know. I was in love with it. Look at that gorgeous background. That's the one I'm using on my card. I did go back and pick up more of that paint. Don't you worry. Now, remember this one, I die cut out the sentiment. So I'm going to cover that hole, and then I'm going to take the two pieces I did for the sentiment, the one that is stamped and colored and the one I just die cut. I'm going to offset that, giving that sentiment a nice little red shadow behind it. Then I'm going to add some foam squares and pop this up right back kind of where it came out of, and it just gives it that really fun shadow look. All right, so now for texture on this card, I decided to add some very simple stitching. I'm poking 4 holes in 4 different spots on this card with that little paper piercing type tool on the end of my pickup stick, and then I'm just going to use some white embroidery floss and this needle to create little X's on these 4 corners, and it's just going to make the cutest little texture on this card. So you know, stitching on cards is like so cool, but sometimes it can be quite involved, quite timely. So I like just adding these little bits of embroidery floss onto my card. Great texture. All right, let's add that onto the card base. Look at that background. I'm in love with it. All right, so now I have some clay hearts also from the shop at Trinity Stamps, and I'm going to add those on my card to really make that red pop. And I thought the hearts were really fun. Although Trinity Stamps also has clay strawberry elements you could add. Yeah, they're the cutest thing. The cutest. Okay, we have one more card, and because I had all these bags, I decided I better try a paper bag. So I had this paper bag, I'd got something in, it was really wrinkly, so I decided, let's go with the really wrinkled look. So I scrunched it up a bunch of times, pressed it back flat, and now I'm adding some green paint, just one color, to my gel press, and I'm going to bring back that crinkly bag, and I'm going to put it down on here and press it down, kind of like I did with the burlap. And oh my goodness, I've never done this before, and I think it is like my new favorite thing to do on my gel press. This background is like so awesome. So awesome, right? So that's the one I'm using for my peach card. We're going to pull this all together. I know it's quite green, but I really wanted the green in my stems to pop. So I brought in some vintage photo ink and smooshed that onto my little window sheet here, and added a little water. I'm going to splatter that over the little peachy thing. I wanted it to look more, I don't know, kind of like a vintage label on a box of peaches. And I just took the little ink cube and rubbed that on the edge of this little label, and it did the trick. I love it. I'm going to add a little white layer behind that just to give it a little bit more of a layered label look. And then I decided, okay, we added the bit of lemon paper or bag, right? So maybe adding a little bit of the brown paper bag behind this one will do the same kind of textured coolness to my card. And I think it did. I don't know. You tell me. What do you think of the paper bag on this card? All right, so now I am adding a little bit of double-sided adhesive sheet to a piece of green cardstock on the front. And then I'm going to take the little heart die from this die set and die cut out that heart. Peel off the paper backing and dip this into some green flock and add that to my image, just paper piecing it right there. And then I've got something fuzzy. I didn't have peach colored flocking, but I really wanted flocking on this card because it's like peach fuzz. So I added that in the green for that heart. And then of course I'm adding some gems, and this time just keeping them right there on that little label. And that is it for my card. It's actually it for all 5 of my cards. I'm going to show them all to you again. I would love for you to tell me which of these new stamps is your favorite. I don't know if I can pick the strawberries, the lemons, like, the root vegetables. It's so fall-like. I don't know. They're so cool, and I give a big shout out to Dani who designed these. I love them, and I always feel like you made them just for me, but they're for everyone. So enjoy and watch for the new release coming next week on June 7th. I'll see you very soon on the next video. Happy stamping. Bye.